Sarah ignored the commotion behind her and scanned the terrain for Target 8. The tournament organizers had designed the course assuming no competitor would reach this point, let alone with 40 minutes still on the clock. The remaining targets would push beyond conventional limits, testing capabilities that bordered on the supernatural. Commander Vextar's 4 arms trembled as he contacted his homeworld. Military Command, we have a situation. The human is exceeding all parameters. Request immediate analysis of their combat capabilities. The response crackled through his communicator. Impossible. Human military assessments show limited physical capabilities. Are you certain of these readings? She has just tied our galactic record, Vextar replied, his voice tight with disbelief. And she appears to be just getting started. Target 8 materialized as a holographic projection moving through dense fog in a valley 2.5 kilometers away. The challenge wasn't just distance. The target flickered in and out of visibility, using advanced camouflage technology that could fool most scanning equipment. Previous competitors had spent 20 minutes just trying to locate it. Sarah adjusted her scope and waited. She had learned patience during her early training, spending hours motionless in uncomfortable positions. But this was different. She wasn't just waiting for a clear shot. She was reading the pattern of the hologram's movement, understanding its rhythm. The fog swirled, and for a split second, the target became visible. Sarah's shot rang out before most observers even realized she had fired. The holographic target shimmered and disappeared, marking another successful hit. 8 targets, breathed the Rangemaster. The human has tied the record. Dr. Reeves felt his heart pounding. Sarah had already exceeded every expectation, but he could see the strain beginning to show. Her breathing was slightly heavier and a thin line of sweat had formed on her brow. The alien observers, however, interpreted these signs differently. See? Hissed the Serpentine delegate. The human is weakening. Physical limitation will stop her now. General Throck's massive head shook slowly. No, watch her eyes. She is not tired. She is focused. This is what true hunters look like when they find their prey. Target 9 appeared on a platform that rose from the ground, then immediately began moving in a complex 3-dimensional pattern. It spun, dipped, climbed, and changed direction randomly every few seconds. The shot required not just accuracy but perfect timing to catch the target at a moment when its trajectory could be predicted. Sarah studied the movement for 30 seconds, her mind processing patterns that seemed completely random, but everything had a pattern if you looked deeply enough. The chaos was constructed, which meant it followed rules. She just had to find them. There. A slight hesitation in the upward movement every 4th rotation. Sarah tracked the pattern, confirmed it held, and waited for the perfect moment. Her shot intercepted the target at the apex of its climb, when it paused for a fraction of a second before changing direction. The alien spectators fell silent again. 9 targets. Sarah had broken the galactic record. Impossible, muttered a Zerion military advisor. Our champion has compound eyes and neural processing enhancements. How can a biologically inferior human surpass our capabilities? But Sarah wasn't thinking about biology or technology. She was remembering her grandfather, who had taught her to hunt in the forests of Montana. Don't think too much, little bear, he used to say. Feel the wind, feel the earth, feel your heartbeat. When everything aligns, you'll know. Target 10 presented the ultimate challenge in creative problem solving. It appeared behind a series of obstacles that made a direct shot impossible. Previous competitors had tried to ricochet shots off angled surfaces, but the target's position made even that nearly impossible. Most had given up, accepting that 10 was meant to be an unreachable goal. Sarah studied the obstacle course for several minutes. The target was visible through a narrow gap, but only if she could thread a shot between 2 rotating barriers, under a low overhang, and around a curved barrier. The window of opportunity lasted less than 2 seconds and occurred only once every minute. The alien observers watched in fascination as Sarah made minute adjustments to her position. She was changing her angle, creating a new line of sight that none of them had considered. Instead of fighting the obstacles, she was using them. When the barriers aligned, Sarah fired. Her bullet traced an impossible path through the obstacle course, using the curved barrier as a guide rail and emerging at precisely the right moment to strike the target. The shot required mathematical precision that most species couldn't calculate even with computer assistance. 10 targets. The range erupted in stunned silence. How? Whispered Commander Vextar. How is this possible? Dr. Reeves watched Sarah reset her position and knew the answer. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their assessment of humanity. They had focused on raw physical capabilities, strength, speed, sensory acuity. They had missed the subtle advantages that made humans unique. Sarah possessed something that couldn't be measured or replicated. Intuition born from thousands of generations of persistence hunting, pattern recognition that evolved from surviving as prey before becoming predators. And most importantly, the uniquely human ability to find solutions that others considered impossible. Target 11 appeared at the very edge of her rifle's range, moving through a valley where atmospheric distortion made accurate shooting nearly impossible. Heat shimmer distorted the air, creating multiple false images of the target. Even with perfect marksmanship, hitting it would require luck as much as skill. Sarah studied the distortion patterns, understanding that they followed the laws of physics, even if they seemed random. She waited for the atmospheric conditions to stabilize, found the real target among the mirages, and took a shot that defied the expectations of every military expert watching. 11 targets. The new galactic record. Behind her, the alien delegates were frantically contacting their governments. Military strategies would need to be reconsidered. Alliance agreements might need to be renegotiated. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted, and it all centered on one human woman with a rifle. Sarah checked her remaining time. 15 minutes left. Target 12 would be the final challenge, and she suspected the tournament organizers had designed it to be truly impossible. But as her grandfather had taught her, impossible was just another word for something nobody had figured out yet. She settled into position, rifle ready, and waited for the ultimate test. Target 12 materialized as a sphere of pure energy, hovering 3 kilometers away, surrounded by a defensive shield that deflected all incoming projectiles. The tournament organizers had designed it as an impossible final challenge, expecting competitors to attempt futile shots until time ran out. No physical projectile could penetrate the energy barrier. "There," said Commander Vextar with relief. "The human has reached her limit. No kinetic weapon can breach that shield. Our technology assessments were correct after all." The Chronari delegation rumbled their agreement. "Primitive human weapons cannot overcome advanced energy barriers. She will fail like all the others." But Sarah wasn't studying the shield. She was examining everything around it. The sphere hovered over a small lake, its energy field creating ripples in the water below. Trees swayed in the distance, their movement suggesting wind patterns. Most importantly, she noticed something the others had missed: a metallic structure partially hidden behind a hill, generating the shield. Dr. Reeves watched Sarah's expression change from concentration to something that looked almost like amusement. He had seen that look before, during her training exercises when she found an unexpected solution to what seemed like an impossible problem. The other competitors had tried shooting directly at the sphere, watching their projectiles bounce harmlessly off the energy barrier. They had attempted ricochet shots, hoping to find an angle that might penetrate the shield. All had failed because they were fighting the problem instead of understanding it. Sarah adjusted her rifle's position, aiming not at the target, but at a point 300 meters behind it. The alien observers muttered in confusion. She was pointing her weapon at empty air, seemingly giving up on the final challenge. "The human has lost her mind," chittered a Zephyrian advisor. "She is aiming at nothing." But Sarah understood something fundamental about energy shields that the advanced alien civilizations had forgotten in their reliance on technology. Shields required power, and power required infrastructure. The metallic structure behind the hill wasn't just generating the barrier. It was the vulnerable point in an otherwise perfect defense. The shot rang out across the range. Sarah's bullet arced high over the energy sphere, passed harmlessly through empty air, and struck the hidden power generator with devastating precision. The energy shield flickered once and collapsed, leaving the sphere defenseless. In the 3 seconds before the backup systems could engage, Sarah fired again. The second bullet found the target, destroying it completely. 12 targets, all destroyed in 57 minutes. The range fell into absolute silence. Even the background hum of equipment seemed to pause as the implications sank in. A human had not just broken the galactic record. She had shattered it by solving a challenge that was designed to be impossible. General Throck was the first to speak, his massive voice carrying a note of respect that hadn't been there before. 12 targets. In less than 1 hour. How did she know about the generator? She didn't, Dr. Reeves said quietly. She figured it out. That's what humans do. We look at impossible problems and find ways to make them possible. Commander Vexitar's forearms gestured frantically as he processed the data. The final target was meant to be impenetrable. Our best scientists designed that shield. How could a primitive kinetic weapon overcome such technology? The answer lay in humanity's greatest strength and what other species consistently underestimated: the ability to think laterally. While alien civilizations had developed incredible technology and enhanced their natural abilities, they had become locked into conventional thinking patterns. They saw a shield and tried to break it. Sarah had seen a system and found its weakness. The tournament officials gathered in urgent discussion. No competitor had ever achieved 12 targets. The scoring system didn't even account for perfect completion. They would need to create new records, new categories, new understanding of what was possible in military competition. Sarah climbed down from the shooting platform, her movements calm and controlled. The weight of hundreds of alien stares didn't seem to affect her. She had accomplished what she came to do, but more importantly, she had proven something that would echo throughout the galaxy. "Lieutenant Chen," called the Rangemaster, his silver skin pale with shock. "You have achieved something unprecedented. 12 targets in 57 minutes, 18 seconds. How do you explain this performance?" Sarah looked around at the assembled representatives, seeing the mix of awe, fear, and respect in their various alien features. The mockery was gone, replaced by something far more valuable: recognition. "I learned from the best teachers," she said simply. "Patience from my grandfather, persistence from my drill instructors, and precision from thousands of hours of practice. But most importantly, I learned never to accept that something is impossible just because no one has done it before." Her words carried through the range's translation systems, rendered into dozens of alien languages, but the meaning transcended linguistics. She wasn't just talking about marksmanship. She was describing the human approach to challenges that seemed insurmountable. Dr. Reeves felt a surge of pride watching the alien delegates processing what they had witnessed. For years, humanity had been treated as the junior member of the Galactic Federation, tolerated but not respected. That had just changed forever. The Serpentine delegate slithered closer, his reptilian features showing newfound interest. "Your shooting technique is unlike anything in our databases. Would your military be willing to share training methods?" Before Sarah could respond, similar requests came from other delegations. The Zirian compound-eyed warriors wanted to understand her pattern recognition. The Chronari sought insights into her tactical thinking. Even the proud Zephyrians asked about human training philosophies. Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Reeves, understanding the diplomatic implications. Humanity had just demonstrated capabilities that demanded respect and invited partnership, rather than patronizing tolerance. "I think," Sarah said carefully, "that there's a lot our species could learn from each other. But it might require looking past first impressions and really understanding what each of us brings to the table." As the alien delegates began forming groups, discussing alliance implications and military exchanges, Sarah quietly cleaned her rifle. The tournament was over, but she suspected this was only the beginning of something much larger. The galaxy had just learned that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't advanced technology or physical superiority. It was the refusal to accept limitations that others considered absolute. 3 days after the tournament, Sarah found herself in the most secure briefing room on the Galactic Military Academy station. Representatives from 8 different species sat around a circular table, their expressions ranging from curious to concerned. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically from the mockery she had endured just days earlier. Admiral Kethvar, a distinguished Altarian with silver skin that seemed to shimmer with age and wisdom, activated the holographic display. "Lieutenant Chen, your performance has raised questions throughout the Federation. We need to understand the implications of what we witnessed." The display showed tactical analyses from each species' military experts, trajectory calculations, reaction time measurements, and accuracy assessments that defied their understanding of human capabilities. Most concerning to them was the final shot, the destruction of the power generator that no scanning equipment had detected. Our intelligence suggested human military capabilities were limited, said General Korath. a Zarian whose compound eyes tracked multiple data streams simultaneously. Your demonstration indicates our assessments were fundamentally flawed. Sarah studied the faces around the table, recognizing the shift in dynamics. Fear had replaced condescension. These weren't beings mocking human weakness. They were military leaders realizing they had seriously underestimated a potential threat. Dr. Reeves, seated beside her, spoke carefully. Perhaps the real question is why those assessments were wrong in the first place. What assumptions led to such inaccurate conclusions? Commander Vextar's forearms gestured nervously. We measured physical capabilities. Strength, speed, sensory acuity. By every metric, humans appeared inferior to established military species. But you missed something important, Sarah said quietly. You measured what we can't do instead of understanding what we can do. She stood and walked to the holographic display, manipulating the controls to show the tournament footage. Target 12 wasn't defeated by superior reflexes or enhanced vision. It was defeated by understanding systems, recognizing patterns that aren't immediately obvious, and finding solutions that others didn't consider. The footage played in slow motion, showing her analysis of the energy sphere, the careful observation of environmental factors, and the decision to target the hidden generator. What looked like intuition was actually rapid processing of multiple variables that most species either ignored or couldn't synthesize effectively. Human neural architecture is different, Dr. Reeves explained. We excel at lateral thinking, pattern recognition across disparate datasets, and finding novel solutions to complex problems. These aren't easily measured in standard military assessments. General Throck, the massive Chronari commander, leaned forward. Are you saying humans possess cognitive advantages we missed? Sarah returned to her seat, choosing her words carefully. Not advantages, differences. Your species have developed incredible sensory capabilities, physical enhancements, and technological solutions. Humans developed different strengths out of necessity. She pulled up historical data about human evolution, showing how persistence hunting, tool use, and social cooperation had shaped their development. We survived by outthinking predators stronger than us, outlasting prey faster than us, and solving problems that seemed impossible. The alien representatives studied the evolutionary data with growing unease. They had assumed biological superiority, translated directly to military effectiveness. The tournament had proven that assumption dangerously wrong. Admiral Kethvar's silver skin darkened slightly. If human capabilities have been underestimated, what are the strategic implications? How many humans possess similar skills? That's the wrong question, Sarah said. The right question is, how can we work together instead of worrying about who's stronger? But the military minds around the table were already calculating threat assessments. If one human could defeat their best warriors in a marksmanship competition, what could a coordinated human military force accomplish? The balance of power in the galaxy suddenly seemed less certain. Commander Vextar accessed his data tablet. Our intelligence reports suggest Earth has over 7 billion humans. If even a small percentage possess Lieutenant Chen's capabilities, you're making the same mistake again, Dr. Reeves interrupted. You're focusing on human potential as a threat instead of recognizing it as an opportunity. Sarah stood again, her voice carrying a note of frustration. For 3 years, I've watched Federation species treat humanity like children who stumbled into space travel. You've dismissed our ideas, ignored our contributions, and assumed we had nothing valuable to offer. She gestured to the tournament footage still playing on the display. This didn't happen because humans are secretly superior warriors. It happened because we approach problems differently. We see solutions you might miss just like you see things we can't. General Korath's compound eyes focused on her. What are you suggesting? Integration instead of assessment. Cooperation instead of competition. Each species in the Federation has unique strengths. Instead of ranking them, why not combine them? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Federation had operated on a hierarchical model, with militarily superior species dominating policy and strategy. Human capabilities suggested that model might be fundamentally flawed. Admiral Kethvar spoke slowly. You're proposing a fundamental restructuring of Federation military doctrine. I'm proposing we stop wasting potential, Sarah replied. Your species have incredible advantages. Enhanced senses, superior technology, natural armor. Humans bring different things to the table. Why not use all of it? Dr. Reeves pulled up tactical simulations, showing how human pattern recognition could enhance alien sensor capabilities, how lateral thinking could solve logistical problems, how persistence and adaptability could support traditional military strengths. Joint operations could multiply effectiveness exponentially, he explained. Human intuition guiding Xerion sensors, Chronari strength supported by human strategy, Zephyrian technology enhanced by human innovation. The alien representatives exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from concern to calculation. The competitive instincts that had driven their initial mockery were being replaced by recognition of mutual benefit. Commander Vextar was the first to speak. Such integration would require significant changes to existing protocols. And, trust, added General Throck, we would need to move beyond seeing other species as potential threats. Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the briefing room. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Stop seeing differences as weaknesses or threats. Start seeing them as strengths we can share. The meeting continued for another 2 hours, but the fundamental shift had already occurred. The tournament had broken more than records. It had shattered assumptions that had defined Federation military thinking for decades. As the session concluded, Admiral Kethvar stood slowly. Lieutenant Chen, would you be willing to participate in developing new joint training protocols? Sarah looked around the table at faces that now showed respect instead of dismissal. I'd be honored, but I have one condition. Yes? We design them together, all of us. No more assumptions about who's superior or inferior. Just different species working toward common goals. The alien representatives nodded slowly, understanding that they were witnessing the beginning of a new era in galactic military cooperation. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the command center of the Federation's newest military installation, watching displays that showed joint training exercises across 3 star systems. The transformation had been remarkable, but not without challenges. Human Unit 7 is requesting tactical support, announced Lieutenant Vexnar, Commander Vextar's nephew, his 4 arms coordinating multiple communication channels. The young Zephyrian had volunteered for the joint program despite his family's initial reservations. Sarah studied the tactical display showing a mixed unit of humans, Chronari, and Xerion troops attempting to breach a simulated fortress. Traditional assault methods had failed, and the exercise was designed to test integrated problem-solving capabilities. What's their situation? Sarah asked, settling into the coordination seat that had been designed to accommodate multiple species operators. The fortress uses adaptive defenses, reported sensor specialist Crix, a Xerion whose compound eyes could process data from 17 different scanning arrays simultaneously. Every approach we've tried triggers countermeasures that neutralize our advantages. Through the display, Sarah watched the human soldiers studying the fortress from multiple angles, while their alien teammates provided enhanced sensory data and tactical analysis. The integration wasn't perfect yet. Old hierarchical thinking still influenced some commanders, but progress was undeniable. Recommendations? Sarah asked the mixed species coordination team. Tactical analyst Grundor, a massive Chronari whose natural armor made him nearly invulnerable to most weapons, rumbled thoughtfully. Direct assault remains viable. My people could absorb defensive fire while advancing. Stealth approach shows promise, added Lieutenant Commander Seath, a serpentine whose species excelled at infiltration. We could bypass primary defenses entirely. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the human team leader, Sergeant Martinez, who was examining something the others had missed. She opened a direct communication channel. Martinez, what are you seeing? The adaptive defenses, ma'am. They're responding to our equipment signatures and tactical approaches, but they're not adapting to environmental factors. Sarah smiled, recognizing the lateral thinking that had become humanity's signature contribution to Federation tactics. Explain. The fortress is built into a hillside. Natural water drainage, soil composition, local weather patterns. The adaptive systems are designed to counter military threats, not natural phenomena. On the display, Martinez was pointing to subtle signs that most sensors would dismiss as irrelevant. Erosion patterns, vegetation growth, atmospheric pressure variations. His mixed team was beginning to understand his approach. You're suggesting environmental manipulation, said Crix, his compound eyes refocusing on new data streams. Using natural forces against artificial defenses. Exactly. The fortress defenses can't adapt to geology. Sarah watched as the joint team implemented Martinez's strategy. Chronari strength diverted a natural water flow, Zephyrian technology accelerated erosion processes, and human ingenuity identified the precise points where environmental pressure would overwhelm structural integrity. The fortress fell in 12 minutes, not to superior firepower or advanced technology, but to an approach that no single species would have conceived alone. Exercise successful, announced the Rangemaster. New tactical doctrine logged for analysis. Dr. Reeves, now serving as Director of Integrated Military Development, entered the command center with the expression of satisfaction mixed with concern. Outstanding results, but we're facing political resistance. Sarah turned from the displays. What kind of resistance? Some Federation worlds are questioning the military implications of human integration. They're concerned about shifts in the balance of power. The concern wasn't unfounded. In 6 months, joint human-alien units had revolutionized Federation military capabilities. Training exercises that had historically taken weeks were completed in days. Strategic problems that had puzzled military planners for years were solved through integrated thinking approaches. General Throck, who had become an unexpected advocate for the joint program, entered the command center. His massive frame had to bend slightly to fit through the doorway designed for average Federation species. The Altarian Defense Council is demanding a formal assessment, he announced. They want to understand the long-term implications of human tactical integration. Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Reeves. They had anticipated this moment. The tournament had proven human capabilities, but integration had demonstrated their strategic impact. Some species were beginning to feel threatened by the rapid changes. What are they specifically concerned about? Sarah asked. Military effectiveness has increased by 300% in units with human tactical advisors, Throck explained. Traditional command structures are struggling to adapt to human decision-making patterns. Lieutenant Vexnar looked up from his communication station. My father says the Zephyrian High Command is divided. Some see humans as valuable allies. Others view them as a threat to established military hierarchy. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. The same capabilities that had impressed alien observers were now causing anxiety among military establishments that had operated on predictable patterns for centuries. We need to address their concerns directly, Dr. Reeves said. Demonstrate that integration enhances rather than threatens existing capabilities. Sarah studied the tactical displays showing joint exercises across multiple systems. Human-led units weren't replacing alien capabilities, they were amplifying them. Xerion sensors became more effective when guided by human pattern recognition. Chronari strength was more strategically applied when supported by human tactical thinking. Schedule a demonstration, she decided. Not a competition this time, collaboration. What kind of demonstration? Asked Throck. Sarah pulled up a scenario that had been theoretical until now. A coordinated defense against multiple simultaneous threats across a star system. No single species had the capabilities to handle such complexity, but integrated forces might. We show them what becomes possible when different species work together instead of competing, she said. Real threats, real stakes, real cooperation. The command center fell silent as the implications became clear. Sarah was proposing to use the joint program to address an actual military crisis, demonstrating integration under genuine pressure rather than controlled exercises. The Rigel system has been requesting assistance with piracy suppression, Dr. Reeves said slowly. Multiple raid groups coordinated attacks, conventional responses have failed. Perfect, Sarah replied. We deploy integrated units, use the mission to demonstrate collaborative capabilities, and address Federation concerns through results rather than arguments. General Throck's massive head nodded slowly. Risky. If the operation fails, it could set back integration efforts by years. And if it succeeds, added Lieutenant Vexnar, it could establish new paradigms for Federation military cooperation. Sarah looked around the command center at the mixed species team that had developed in just 6 months. Aliens who had once mocked human capabilities now worked alongside human tactical advisors. Humans who had felt dismissed and undervalued now contributed meaningfully to galactic security. "Then we'd better make sure it succeeds," she said. "Contact Rigel Command. Tell them the Federation is sending a joint response force." As the team began coordinating deployment logistics, Sarah reflected on how far they had come from the shooting, range where alien observers had laughed at human weakness. The tournament had broken records, but the integration program was breaking barriers that had limited Federation effectiveness for generations. The real test wasn't marksmanship under controlled conditions. It was whether different species could truly work together when lives were at stake and failure meant more than embarrassment. Within hours, ships from multiple worlds would converge on the Rigel system, carrying the most ambitious military experiment in Federation history. The Rigel system's asteroid belt buzzed with hostile activity as Sarah's integrated task force arrived. Pirate fleets had established hidden bases throughout the region, using the dense asteroid field to launch coordinated strikes against merchant convoys. Traditional Federation responses had failed because the pirates adapted faster than conventional military thinking could counter. 18 confirmed pirate vessels, reported Sensor Specialist Crix from the command ship's bridge. His compound eyes tracked multiple data streams as the joint task force took position. "They're using asteroid rotation patterns to mask their movements." Sarah stood beside Captain Torres, the human commander of the lead vessel, studying tactical displays that showed the complexity of their challenge. 3 different pirate factions were operating in apparent coordination, striking from multiple directions before disappearing into the asteroid maze. "Conventional approach would be systematic grid search," rumbled General Throk over the communication system from his Chronari heavy cruiser. "My people could clear sectors by sector." "Too slow," replied Commander Vextar from the Zephyrian reconnaissance ship. "Pirates would relocate before we could establish control." Sarah watched the pattern of pirate movements, seeing something that pure tactical analysis might miss. "They're not just hiding randomly. Look at the timing of their attacks." Lieutenant Commander Seath, coordinating from his Serpentine stealth vessel, accessed the pirate strike data. Attacks correlate with asteroid rotation cycles, gravitational alignment, and merchant shipping schedules. "More than that," Sarah said, manipulating the display to show environmental factors. "They're using natural phenomena as a timing mechanism. Solar wind patterns, magnetic field fluctuations, even cosmic radiation bursts." Captain Torres studied the enhanced display with growing understanding. "They've synchronized their operations with predictable space weather. Our sensors are less effective during high radiation periods." "Which means they're not just hiding," Sarah continued. "They're timing their operations to exploit our technological limitations." The integrated command team processed this insight across multiple specialties. Zerion sensors could track the environmental patterns. Zephyrian technology could predict space weather variations. And human tactical thinking could anticipate pirate behavior based on those patterns. "New approach," Sarah announced to the task force. "We use their system against them." Instead of hunting pirates through the asteroid field, the joint force began manipulating the environmental factors the pirates relied on. Chronari engineering teams altered asteroid rotations using gravitational manipulation. Zephyrian ships generated electromagnetic interference that disrupted the pirates' timing mechanisms. Human tactical advisors predicted where pirates would move when their environmental cues became unreliable. "Contact," announced Crix as his sensors detected the first pirate response. 3 vessels moving to intercept merchant convoy Delta 7, but this time the Federation was ready. Sarah's tactical prediction had positioned joint units precisely where the pirates expected empty space. Chronari heavy ships blocked escape routes while Serpentine stealth vessels eliminated communication relays. Human coordinated. Zerion sensors tracked every movement through the asteroid field. "Pirate Fleet Alpha neutralized," reported General Throk. "No Federation casualties." The success was immediate and decisive. But Sarah knew the real test was coming. The remaining pirate factions would adapt to the new tactics, requiring the integrated force to think even more creatively. "They're changing patterns," observed Lieutenant Commander Seath as his stealth sensors detected new movement. "Abandoning environmental timing, switching to random strike protocols." "Expected," Sarah replied. Randomness is harder to predict, but it's also less efficient. They're trading effectiveness for unpredictability. She turned to the integrated command team, seeing aliens and humans working together with a coordination that would have been impossible months earlier. New phase. We exploit their inefficiency. The joint force shifted tactics again, using human psychological insights to understand how pirates would behave under pressure. Instead of hunting them directly, they began manipulating pirate decision-making by creating false opportunities and apparent weaknesses. Zephyrian ships broadcast fake distress signals. Chronari vessels pretended to experience engine failures in strategic locations. Human tactical advisors predicted exactly how desperate pirates would respond to seemingly easy targets. Contact on multiple vectors, announced Crix. All remaining pirate forces moving toward our apparent vulnerabilities. The trap was perfect. Pirates expecting easy prey found themselves surrounded by the most effective military coordination in Federation history. Xerion sensors provided perfect tracking data. Chronari firepower eliminated escape routes. Serpentine stealth ships prevented communication, and human tactical coordination orchestrated the entire operation. All pirate forces neutralized, reported Captain Torres. System secure. The Rigel operation was complete in 4 hours compared to months of failed conventional attempts. But the real victory wasn't military efficiency. It was the demonstration of what became possible when different species combined their unique capabilities. Outstanding work, transmitted Admiral Kethvar from Federation headquarters. The Altarian Defense Council is impressed. Sarah smiled at the understatement. Reports were already spreading through Federation space about the unprecedented success of integrated tactical operations. Species that had questioned human military integration were now requesting joint training programs. Dr. Reeves joined Sarah on the observation deck as the task force prepared to return to base. The political implications are significant. 3 major worlds have formally requested human tactical advisors. Good, Sarah replied, watching the mixed crews working together across the fleet. But it's not about humans anymore. It's about understanding that diversity creates strength. Through the viewport, she could see crews from 6 different species coordinating post-mission procedures. Aliens who had once dismissed human capabilities were now eager to learn collaborative approaches. Humans who had felt marginalized were now integral to Federation military planning. The tournament feels like a lifetime ago, Dr. Reeves observed. Sarah nodded, remembering the mockery and dismissal she had faced on the shooting range. 12 targets in 1 hour. I thought that was the challenge. And now? She gestured toward the integrated fleet, where dozens of species were learning to work together in ways that multiplied their individual capabilities exponentially. Now I understand the real target was something much bigger. The task force began its journey home, carrying more than just the satisfaction of military success. They carried proof that the galaxy's greatest strength wasn't the superiority of any single species, but the combination of all their unique capabilities working toward common goals. Sarah's rifle had broken records and changed perceptions, but the integration program had broken barriers and changed the future of galactic civilization itself. 2 years after the tournament that changed everything, Sarah stood before the newly constructed Federation Integration Academy. The massive complex orbited between 3 star systems, representing the first educational institution designed specifically for multi-species military cooperation. Students from 47 different worlds trained together in facilities that accommodated every form of life in the Federation. The Academy's central chamber hosted the graduation ceremony for its first class of integrated tactical officers. Sarah watched with pride as humans, Chronari, Zephyrians, Xerians, and dozens of other species received their commissions together. The distinction between alien and human had dissolved into something more meaningful. Teammates. Remarkable transformation, observed Admiral Kethvar, his silver skin gleaming with satisfaction. Military effectiveness has increased by 800% across all Federation forces using integrated protocols. Dr. Reeves, now director of the Integration Academy, checked his datapad. 43 worlds have requested integrated tactical advisors. The waiting list extends 3 years. But Sarah's attention was focused on a familiar face in the graduating class. Lieutenant Zarthok, a young Chronari whose natural armor bore the scars of recent combat operations, had written his tactical thesis on human pattern recognition principles. Beside him stood Ensign Chen Vex, a human Zephyrian hybrid whose unique perspective bridged two species' approaches to problem-solving. The ceremony concluded with the traditional oath of integration, spoken simultaneously in dozens of languages but carrying the same meaning: unity through diversity, strength through cooperation, victory through understanding. As the new graduates dispersed to their assignments throughout Federation space, Sarah found herself approached by a delegation of senior military officers from species she didn't recognize. Their translucent forms shifted between different wavelengths of light, suggesting they existed partially outside normal spacetime. Lieutenant Colonel Chen spoke their leader, the title reflecting Sarah's recent promotion. "We are the collective minds of the Ethereal Dominion. We have observed your integration protocols with great interest." Sarah had heard rumors of the Ethereal Dominion, an ancient civilization that existed on the fringes of known space. Their technology was legendary, their military capabilities beyond anything the Federation had encountered. "We wish to propose an alliance," the Ethereal continued. "Your species has demonstrated capabilities that intrigue us." Dr. Reeves and Admiral Kethvar exchanged glances. Contact with the Ethereal Dominion represented a significant shift in galactic politics. They had remained isolated for millennia, considering younger species beneath their notice. "What changed your assessment?" Sarah asked carefully. "We observed your recent conflicts. Not the battles themselves, but your approach to solving impossible problems. Your species thinks in patterns we had not considered." The Ethereal's form shifted, displaying tactical scenarios that made Sarah's mind struggle to process the complexity. "We face challenges that our technology cannot resolve. Perhaps your intuitive approaches could provide solutions." Sarah realized she was witnessing the ultimate validation of humanity's place in the galaxy. The most advanced civilization known to exist was seeking human guidance, not because of superior technology or physical capabilities, but because of the unique thinking patterns that had once been dismissed as primitive. "Integration requires mutual respect and shared goals," Sarah replied. "What would you offer in return?" "Knowledge, technology, access to realms of existence you have not yet discovered." Admiral Kethvar stepped forward, understanding the historical significance of the moment. Such an alliance would transform the Federation entirely. But Sarah was thinking beyond politics and technology. It would also prove that diversity truly is strength. If humans can contribute meaningfully to the Ethereal Dominion, then every species has value that others might not recognize. The Ethereal's form pulsed with what seemed like agreement. "This is precisely the insight that interests us. Your species sees potential where others see limitation." Over the following weeks, preliminary discussions led to the most ambitious collaborative project in galactic history. The Ethereal Dominion shared challenges that had puzzled their civilization for thousands of years. Mathematical paradoxes that prevented faster-than-light communication, energy patterns that could revolutionize space travel, and strategic problems involving conflicts across multiple dimensions. Human tactical advisors, working alongside ethereal scientists and Federation specialists, began finding solutions that none could have achieved alone. Sarah's role evolved from military officer to coordinator of insights that bridged the gap between intuitive thinking and advanced science. The mockery that had followed her to the tournament shooting range seemed like ancient history. Alien species that had once dismissed human capabilities now competed to recruit human tactical advisors. Military academies throughout the galaxy were restructuring their curricula to include human pattern recognition principles. But the most significant change was philosophical. The Federation had abandoned its hierarchical structure based on technological advancement or physical capabilities. In its place emerged a collaborative model that valued each species' unique contributions to common challenges. Standing on the observation deck of the Integration Academy, Sarah watched ships from hundreds of worlds arriving for joint training exercises. Crews that included beings she couldn't have imagined 2 years earlier worked together with the casual efficiency of longtime teammates. Colonel Chen, called Captain Martinez, who now commanded the Academy's training fleet. "The Ethereal Dominion representatives are requesting a demonstration of human tactical integration principles." Sarah smiled, remembering the nervous young woman who had stepped onto a shooting range to face alien mockery. That person had sought only to prove herself worthy of respect. The woman who responded to Martinez's call had something far more valuable: the knowledge that every being in the galaxy possessed unique value that others needed to recognize. "Tell them we'll demonstrate something better than human tactics," she replied. "We'll show them what becomes possible when every species contributes their best to shared goals." As Sarah walked toward the training facilities, she passed a memorial wall dedicated to the integration program's founding principles. At its center was a simple plaque that read, "12 targets, infinite possibilities." The shooting competition had lasted 1 hour. The transformation it sparked would echo through the galaxy for generations, proving that humanity's greatest contribution wasn't superior marksmanship or tactical thinking. It was the radical idea that differences should be celebrated rather than ranked, that diversity creates strength rather than division, and that the impossible becomes achievable when different minds work together toward common dreams. The mocked female sniper had become something far more important than a record-breaking marksman. She had become the catalyst for a new understanding of what civilizations could accomplish when they moved beyond limitations and embraced the infinite potential of cooperation.